Hey everybody, it's Kate Richburg and I am live for Free Tip Friday. I'm also adjusting my camera. There we go. There we are, and I hope everybody can see me okay and hear me okay. If it's Friday, it must be Free Tip Friday from beadshop.com. Let me see if I can pull everybody up here to make sure that I can see you. Camera's on this side, there we go. That I can see you and you can see me. And there we are, I see you now. Let's go ahead and get this going so I can see your comments and all of that good stuff. Alrighty. Okay, there we are. Oh, good morning, Faye. It's great to have everybody here today. Great. All right. Well, we have had a fun week this week. Janice has been here from the East Coast, and now she is on her way back to the East Coast after a fun week. So it was great to have her here. I really loved that In the Mood project called Blue Moon that she made. It was really fun. You can check out all of that stuff right on our Bead Shop website. The Facebook Live info is up already. Well, it's great to see you, everybody. Look, everyone's here. Everyone who's anyone is here, right? And we can see that Gita is also here commenting and linking and saying hello as beadshop.com, our unofficial moderator over in Denmark. It's great to have you, Gita, and everyone. Great. We've got people from all over as usual, which I love. That's my favorite part of our beading community, is that we're so international. Thank you, Faye, for your comment on my colors. I thought I'd be a little bright today. Spring has got to get here sometime. It looks pretty good out here today. It's a little cloudy, but not too bad, so we're in good shape. Okay, so we have a fun project to play around with today. This is our monthly mix. I'll get it up close and personal so you guys can see it. It is our monthly mix called Sweet Pea for May 2018. And this was a Karen product. And I'm gonna dump it out here in front of me so you guys can see it. I'm gonna turn the camera around here so you guys can see what I can see, and are turned perfect. And you guys can kind of see what I can see there. Let me get me into position. There we go. And there we go. So you can see here, this monthly mix, it has a little bit of some special things going on with it. As always, our monthly mixes are made up of a mix of beads, a variety of beads. But this time, let me see if I can get a little closer, zoom in a little bit closer on this. Let me see, whoops. Sorry, I'm trying to, there we go. Sorry, you guys, I'm kind of wavering around a little bit here. But you can see there's some really great beads in here. A mix of 11-aughts, 8-aughts, 6-aughts, and this one is a little bit bigger. It's actually a 4-aught, I think. Or maybe it's an 8-aught. Maybe I'm lying to you. Nope, it's our 4-aught. So it's a pretty cool, it's this little glow bead, our aged striped glow with that little AB glow on it. And yes, I know, right? Those stripe beads, they're so good, aren't they? I love them so much. But it's a really pretty mix. And so Karen got her inspiration from the colors in sweet peas, because it's that sweet pea time of year. So she named it Sweet Pea, which I really dig. And Karen, you're getting a lot of love for this mix. Yes, she wooed from her desk. She literally wooed. So that's awesome. I think I really love it. I love it. And I thought it would be fun today to work with this mix and talk to you a little bit about making floats, because you know spring is coming, or it's here in some parts of the world. I don't think anyone else in the northern hemisphere, hopefully, or at least in the US, has snow anymore. I hope. I don't know. It was pretty snowy at the beginning of April, but May is in, so we're hopefully in pretty good shape. So I thought I would share with you floats, because floats are a great kind of spring into summer necklace. And you guys may remember this one that I did a while back with the February monthly mix. I think I did this float. And I used the Soft Flex Extreme in gold. And I just essentially strung that monthly mix, the February monthly mix, just right on that Soft Flex, and it just floats. There aren't any crimp tubes at all on here. So the whole piece just kind of floats, just like that, okay? And we've also done floats previously. This is a Free Tip Friday. No, I'm lying to you. This is a Facebook Live one that I also did a while back. Let me see if I can find actually the name of that one. I probably should have checked before I went on air, but no one's ever accused me of being prepared on a Friday, right? So let's take a look. If you go to our website, beadshop.com, and you want to see all of our projects, you just go over to Beadshop, click on the top tab on the projects bar all the way over to the right hand side of your screen, up at the top, and you'll see all of our projects come up. And you can scroll down, as I'm doing right now. And of course, Gita is on it. She's so much faster than I am, and it's called Float Away. Good job, Gita. You're the best. And this is the one called Spring Day. And you can see what I used here. Oops. Oh, sorry, you guys. I knocked over my phone. Sorry about that. You can see we just used simple crimp tubes to do our floats, but I'm going to talk to you about all 3 of the different crimp tube sizes, and I'm going to show you how I use those in floats today. So Float Away, it's a great one for you to take a look at and play around with, and today is going to be a little bit of a riff on that. And hey, you guys, guess who just joined our broadcast? Cara! Yay! Cara's home.
Hi, Cara.
We all miss you, Cara. We can't wait to see you. So let me get this. Let me get a little tighter in here. I'm filming with my phone today, you guys, so it's a little bit closer up, more close up and personal here. So I hope that you guys can see okay. Okay. So this is, whoops, I'm a little too tight in there. This is our crimp tube multi-pack, okay? And it comes with 3 different sizes, the 1.5, the 2, and the 2.5, okay? And this one is super handy because it comes with all of those 3 sizes. Now, I'll show you what I use each one for. Let's start with the 1.5, okay? And we're going to get out our trusty, handy-dandy Xuron crimping tool. Let me grab it here. And this is the one that Janice, to help her see what was going on with this crimper, has marked with the 4 different colors of nail polish to kind of differentiate between each little crimping area. Okay, let me see if I can get it so you can see kind of through it, so you can see the size. There we go. And I'm going to get really up close and tight so you guys can see this, okay? There we go. So this Xuron crimping plier, and you've seen me do this before, but I'm going to do this again. It has 3 different sizes of rounding chambers and 1 crimping chamber right there. The yellow dot is the crimping chamber, and then the kind of teal dot is for 3mm or 2.5mm crimps, Here's this middle one, the pink one is for the 2mm, and then this other little darker yellow is for the 1.5 or 1mm crimper. Okay, so it's really handy for all 3 sizes of crimps. So the 1.5mm is this tiny little guy right here. Okay, and so when let me zoom out, whoops, that's zooming in, let me zoom out a little bit here. When I string my floats, and what I have here to string on, I have used the Softflex Metallics. I've used it in the copper color here, and this is the fine size, the .014. Okay, the .014 is great for all kinds of stringing, and I'm going to start by just doing a little center crimp right here. Okay, and I'm going to come in, I'm going to put just some of my monthly mix on there. Oops, there we go. Sorry, I'm trying to zoom in, you guys. It's a little hard on my phone because my phone screen is a little small for me. There we go. Okay, so let me get back to the feed so I can see your comments here. There we go. Great. Let me get you. There we go. Oh, Anna, I'm glad I'm reading over some of the comments. I'm glad that you like this plier and the crimps. They are super, super helpful to have all of those different sizes. And yes, I agree with Cecil Design Studio. Michelle, the Xuron products, they are made really well. They're all made in the US, actually right up in Maine here in the States. And Xuron is a great small company. We love our Xuron friends. Their tools are really, really beautifully made. So I'm coming in and I'm just putting a little bunch of beads here on the center. Okay, just a little grouping. And I'm going to start by just isolating that little group, and I'm going to put a 1.5mm crimp tube on both sides, here and here. Okay, now when I'm just doing that single crimp on a .014 with a .014 crimp tube, I'll use the smallest, or .014 Softflex rather. I'll use this smallest crimp tube because it hangs on nice and tight and is really easy for me to crimp and doesn't look so gigantic. Okay, can we see that there? So I'm just going to come in, I'm going to use my crimp. In order for my other stuff not to fall off the other end, I'm going to put a piece of tape on that side so I don't have things kind of coming off. And for a float, you guys, since the center is kind of the most important portion or important place on my necklace, I always start in the middle. Okay, that's where I start. So I'm going to come in, get my crimp, and again, this is the 1.5mm. And I'm going to come in with my little crimper with the little crimping portion. Can you see that? There's that little tooth that's pushing down on the crimp. Okay, I'm going to just firmly but evenly crimp that down. And can you see how I've made that little crimp there? Now I'm going to turn my plier and see how I've got the smallest little section. It's that yellow section that's right at the tip. I'm going to come in and flatten it down. Okay, and I'm going to tighten it up. Boom, done and done. Now I'm going to slide everything over like this, and I'm going to crimp the other side. Okay, and I'm going to come in here with that little tooth, the crimping part of the plier. And you want to be careful, especially when you're working with this monthly mix, that you don't crimp the seed bead rather than the crimp tube. Okay, and you can see here kind of on that side view, can you see how There we go, it's a little bright. You can see, I think you can see, there we go, that might be a little better, how that crimp has been crimped down like a little, kind of like a little taco. And then I'm going to turn it to the side. I'll use, whoops, I've got double crimping pliers here in front of me. Let me get the one with the little mark on it. There we go. I turn it right to the side. And I fold it down. Again, being careful, really mindful not to hit that seed bead on the other side. Okay? There we go. All right, looks like that. I'm actually going to close the blind a little bit, you guys. It looks like I'm getting blown out just a little bit, so bear with me here. No, I got it, Fran, thank you. Brandon's busy filling orders. No, it's okay, don't worry. There we go. I think that might be a little bit better for everybody. There we go. So I'm not so, a little bit easier for you guys to see. So here I have my center right here in the middle. Okay. Then what you can do is, if you want, you can make yourself, sometimes I do it this way. I'll give myself a little piece of tape or something. Let me see if I can move this up a little bit so you guys can see. If I give myself a little piece of tape and I have a pen, I can, or I can make this little mark on a piece of paper and stuff too. But I can get a pen and I can give myself a little inch mark like that. Okay. Then I can kind of speed bead, I guess is what I want to say. So let me see. Let me show you how I do it to get a little more speed with what I'm doing. So I'm going to put that 1.5 millimeter crimp, and I'm going to put a little, I don't know, a little mess of these beads. Whatever works for you. I'm not even worrying about what it is I'm gonna put on there. I'm just gonna put on, because this mix goes together so nicely, so I'm not gonna worry about it too much. Okay, so there is my first little section that I've made. Okay, and then I'm gonna put on another crimp tube. This is what makes everything work, though. You've got to remember to put on a crimp tube at the end and at the beginning so it all works out. Okay, there we go. And let me get, I don't know, one more. And then I'll put on a crimp tube. I'll do one more section. So one more crimp. I saw that Trish says that she always holds her breath while I crimp. Well, thank you, Trish, for sending me those good vibes. They're only beads. What are you going to do, right? We're just going to do our best. But that's why sometimes I'll admit I hold my breath too. I want to make sure that it crimps out just right. And there we have it. Okay. So I've got, can you see here? I think you can see. I've got my first little section, but then I've got this section, 2 crimp tubes, this section, 2 crimp tubes, and this section, just 1, because I'm done there. Okay. So now I'm going to come in and I'm going to put another piece of tape on this side so that nothing goes away. Okay. So if I kind of pick up my piece or whatever, I'm not real worried that things are going to all go south for me. So here's my little section. So I'll come in, let me move that camera a little bit so you guys can see. I'll come in and I'll make that initial crimp right at that space. And you guys have been chatting on the broadcast about different ways that you guys measure, from using the joint on your finger to slicing a little coffee stirrer on the side, down the side, and slipping it on and then pulling your crimp up to it, which is also a great way to do it. I am a fan of just making a little mark on either a piece of paper or a piece of tape, so my tape is stuck to my table surface so it doesn't go awry. And I just grab onto that crimp, and as I'm crimping, you guys, I can kind of push it down and hold it with my crimp just like that, and it kind of butts up against this 11/0 so it doesn't bust the bead. Okay, so there's my second one. Now I'll slide my crimp down, put this on like so, bring it in, whoops, bring it in just gently, and before I crimp it down, here we go. I'm going to measure it up, crimp, and fold. Okay, just like that. And slide it down and crimp. So you do kind of all the heavy lifting at the beginning, right, when you're stringing. And then if you put 2 pieces of tape on the end, whoops, that one slipped a little bit, but you know what, I'm not going to worry about it. We're just going to press on. Then once you have your tape on both ends, you can just really go quickly, crimp and crimp and crimp fast. Let's do this last one. Put the crimp on, grab it with my crimping plier. A little bit of an awkward angle because of the camera, but that looks about right. There we go. And fold. And then slide this last one into place. Okay. Well, everybody's talking about crimp covers. Well, let me talk to you a little bit about crimp covers. I talk about crimp covers all the time. Okay. Of the marked side. So Mimi's asking an up-close still photo of the marked side of the crimp pliers. You know, I think it's in one of the episode notes, Mimi. If you look at the episode notes for Softflex 101 or for Float Away, I think it's both. I think it's in there both, or in one of those, I think, on there. And it may also be somewhere on the blog. But it's pretty, I know it's there. I can look and link it in the comments later. So that was a really good question. Someone had a question, about, so Rosie, you had, if I were able to fix the crimp that slipped, how would I? Just cut it off? Well, let me show you how I would do that. Sometimes you can damage your Softflex that way, but sometimes you don't. And I'll show you, once my necklace is kind of curved like this, that little piece is hardly noticed. And if I'm going to make it multiple strands like this, I'm not going to sweat it. But let me show you how I do cut a crimp off if I've crimped it. So let's say I've got my crimp tube here, and I'm putting this on. See if I can get it in there. That one's plugged. Let me get another one here. There we go. And let's say that I'm crimping it here. Let me get a little closer so you guys can see this. And I come in and I crimp, and I'm a little careless. I'm not being mindful, and I crimp and I go, oh, well, that's the wrong place. Then what I do, let me see if I can get real close for you guys. I'll get my Zuron and see how this crimp is kind of, the wire is caught on the left side, and on the right side I've got some room. I'll come in, see right here, being really careful not to nick the Softflex, and I'll cut. And then I can usually get that off. If it doesn't want to come off, I'll turn it to the other side and kind of also cut it. There we go. There we go. And that's off like that. So you can see it's left the tiniest dent, but it doesn't look like the soft flex is damaged. It just looks like it's dented a little bit. I would cover that with another bead so it doesn't get bent, and then you're good to go. Okay. Okay. Crimp covers. People have been asking about crimp covers. You know, I love crimp covers and I use them a lot, for those of you who have seen me work with soft flex before. However, with this crimping section that I'm making here, I want my crimps to be as unintrusive as possible. So I'm just going to leave these crimps just as is. Okay, I won't use a crimp cover. All right. So let's say that we wanted to do something a little more fancy pants, because we're fancy that way, right? Let me show you how I would use the 2mm crimp. I'm gonna just go ahead and grab this 2mm. Let me open this up. Come on. Come on. There we go. If I can get it off of there. There we go. And here's my 2mm. So let's get a few out of there. And there seems to be a big one mixed in there, but here's my 2mm. So let's say that I wanted to do, I don't know, maybe like a group of 3. And I'll slide everything on. And see how those 3 strands fit perfectly in that 2x2? So let's go back down to the center of my soft flex. The fit in this crimp tube is a little tighter, so I don't want to pull it on too quickly. I want to kind of gently slide it on because I don't want to bend or crimp my soft flex. You know, it would be like running holiday curling ribbon up against a like a scissors, right? It would give it a nice little curl if I pulled it too tightly. Okay, so I'm going to turn it. Now I'm going to go in this center one, the 2mm, and I'm going to fold it. Okay, just like that. Now for this one, I'm going to come in and I'm going to put beads on all 3 of these little legs. Okay, 1, 2, 3. So let me get some of our sweet pea monthly mix, and I'll take one of these and I'll go, hey, I'll go from 11 to 8 to 6, maybe back down to 8 and to 11. And then I'll do this second one. And I'll go from 11 to maybe this 8 to that 6 to a few 6s maybe, down to an 8 and to an 11. And let's go to strand number 3. And let's go from, say it with me now, an 11, an 8. Maybe we'll go 2 8s because they're sitting right there. Let's go to this guy. That guy, this one. Let's put 2 stripes in this because the stripes are so awesome. That little 8 and then that 11. Okay, so let's look and see what we have. So we have kind of like this little pod of beads, and I'm gonna, when I crimp this, I'm gonna not crimp it super tight like this, though you could if you wanted them tight. But I'm going to give it a little bit, as Janice likes to say it with me, air, right? So let me put all 3 of these into a 2x2. Slide all the strands through. Carefully pulling it down, and then, so you can see, let's give it a little bit of air. Okay, And I'm going to come in and crimp. That looks good. Put in that second one and fold, and then tighten. So Cindy, you had a good question about could we use like a different stringing material if you wanted to have it be a more organic look. You could use something like wax linen, or you could use something like Ceylon even if you wanted, or even tough cord. You could, but in that case, you guys, you would not hear rather than crimp. Crimping and thread, they're not really friends, right? You want to save crimping for soft flex, and you want to go knotting with your threads. Okay, so the crimps, when you crimp a thread, sometimes it has a tendency to slice it up a little bit, okay? But you could definitely switch up your materials. Mimi, your question, when you want to make it shorter by wrapping, does it fall easily or is it a bit stiff? Well, you know, a piece that's strung on soft flex naturally is slightly stiffer just because you're using a nylon coated wire cable rather than using a thread, right? But I've made longer necklaces that I've wrapped around a few times, and they're still pretty supple. The soft flex does have a nice hand to it. So I use either or. Sometimes I'll use soft flex if it's long, and if I make a really long necklace that I'm stringing continuously on soft flex, periodically I'll just put a little crimp tube and close it off so that if my soft flex breaks in the middle, not all of my beads are going to fall off my long necklace, and that crimp just kind of falls along into place in the design. Or I could also hide it with a bead that has a big hole, or I could even hide it with a crimp cover and make it look like a metal bead. So it just depends, you know. I decide, I guess it's really what stringing material sometimes I have near me, right? Or if the beads, if I think they're going to be thread cutters or not, right? So to make these kind of the same length, you could go back to our little friend over here that I had with the measuring, you know, to do that. But most of the time I just eyeball this because it has a little more of an organic feel to it. So I don't sweat it, right? I just come in and I crimp. All right, and the cool thing about this Xuron plier is, see how I just come in and I can just kind of detail those crimps, just kind of give them one final little hug here with the tip of that tool. So you can see I've got a little bit of air going on there, and I think this looks pretty cool this way. And Kathy, you're asking, am I putting beads on just 2 wires and carrying the other? I'm actually putting beads on all 3. I've got a group of 3 here, and I'm just putting them all 3 on this kind of little pod. And you can see this one looks like I've got a few more beads, and these looks like I have a smaller amount of beads, so it really just depends on what you like the look of. With this bigger crimp, you guys, like this, I might cover it with the crimp cover. So let's go ahead and crimp. Oh, you guys can hear, you guys can hear our packaging going on all at the same time. You know, when I do these free tip Fridays, life is still going on here in our office. We're still filling your orders and packaging beads and doing all kinds of stuff like that. So I think what you're hearing is beads going into little bags to make their way to you. That's what you're hearing. So see how I have that crimp cover? Looks like a little Pac-Man, right? And it's come in and it's just kind of coming along. This is a 2x2 crimp, and I'm going to come in with the rounding portion of my crimping plier, and see how that crimping plier just helps me round that down. And I turn and round, turn and round, turn and round, being delicate, not being too kind of heavy-handed with what I'm doing. And once I've got it closed, I'm going to give it one more little squeeze on that opening to make sure it's closed all the way. Okay, so now can you see how we have gotten a nice crimp cover on that one right there? Okay, and I could do a second one and do a crimp cover there. So you can mix something like this if you wanted, right? I could do kind of a double strand that has kind of this kind of single strand crimp here, and then kind of this multi-pod strand here, right? And last but not least, you guys, if I am stringing with a whole bunch, let's say that I came in and I'm actually going to cut some soft flex here. And you can, whoops, I can come in and cut this. I'm going to cut this in half in four times. So that's twice. So just so I have four little pieces here. Okay. Yeah, the Odyssey, you guys were talking about the Odyssey project from beadshop.com. It is a great one with waxed linen. It is so simple, so easy to make, and the design is so effective. You can find it. It's a great one to feature the Irish waxed linen. And someone mentioned earlier, I think it was you, it was Naomi, you were saying that you've been stringing for so long, 40 years, over 40 years, and you love using waxed linen. I'm the same way. I have been stringing with waxed linen almost my whole beading career, which spans back almost 30 years now. And I love using it. Okay, so here's my it's actually a 2x2 or 2.5 millimeter by 2.5 millimeter. But if I'm doing like a group of 4 or more strands, this is the crimp that you'd want to use for that float. Okay, so we just come in. We're going to do the same thing. Can you see now there's that big crimp? Still fits in that little crimping chamber. But now I use the one here over at the end, turn, crimp, and fold. Okay? So there you have it. Something like this. Okay? So we've got a bigger crimp, but you've got you've got more strands. You could certainly get more strands through that crimp as well. Okay? It would also kind of be a cool, I don't know, cool little design. You could just use soft flex and crimp tubes. Let me just put another crimp tube over there. You could just kind of, I don't know, space it out so that your soft flex kind of comes together kind of close, and then you just crimp along it, and it would create kind of like a heavier cord kind of a thing. Whoops, let me turn this around. I don't know, I'm just doing a little riff. I don't know how it would look, but it might look kind of cool. I don't know, right? Sorry about that. Yep, it's a 3x3 crimp. Okay, and then you could put another one there. So I don't know, it might be kind of an interesting kind of thing to play with. I had this little scrap, so I do that a lot. I kind of play around with new designs on kind of my scrap pieces, so it's kind of cool. Yeah, so this is a 3x3 crimp tube, and this mix, it's the monthly mix for May, and it's called Sweet Pea, and it was Karen's brainchild, Karen's invention. Okay, the last thing I wanted to show you guys, and I have it on this piece, these are our oval crimps, and you can see how I used it right here on this necklace that I made previously, how I have this oval crimp, and all of my ends, what I would do here is I could cut my ends, and then I could slide everything into that oval crimp. And you can see how that oval crimp, it's open, okay? Here, there's that little tooth that's coming down. You can see that. I get my pliers, my flat nose pliers, and I come in and I crimp it right down. Crimp, crimp, crimp. That little tooth kind of smashes that little center section down, and it holds really, really well. Then at the end, you can add anything you want. In this one, I added some chain and a lobster claw clasp. And so I grabbed some of our circle back chain, which is, I grabbed it in copper this time. Our little copper lobster claw. And then our little oval, I think it's a 4mm oval jump ring to complete that closure. Okay, so we're all set and ready to go with that closure. So let me just, let me get go a little further out and go over just everything I used, because my table's a little messy, so let me also clean while I'm going over that. We used, for this float, we used all of the crimp tubes in the assorted sizes here, and I used those in copper. And we used this monthly mix, the sweet pea mix from Bead Shop, to do kind of this both of these little single line crimps, and then kind of this little pod line crimp like this. Okay. And then we talked about these oval crimps, and then the findings to close them off, which are the these guys here, the oval jump ring and the lobster claw. So that's it. Yeah, this would make a great Mother's Day gift, I think. This is a really, really pretty mix. I love it. You know, Cindy, we only carry, it's a good question, crimp covers for the largest ones. The crimp covers that we carry are the 3mm, which are sized for this middle size, or the 2mm sized crimp tubes. So I'm sure you could also cover the 1mm with this, but these are sized for the 2mm. Usually the rule of thumb is for your crimp cover, you go about 1mm size larger than the size of crimp that you're using. So if we're using what I call a 3mm crimp, but it's actually a 2 by 2.5 by 2.5mm, I'd pop up to a 4mm crimp cover. So one size up from the crimp that you're using. Okay. So it looks like we had another quick question here. Before I turn this around, let me take a look. Let me see. The beading wire, Francine, I'm using the 0.014 soft flex. Thanks for asking. It's this one, the metallic soft flex copper, and it's the 0.014 or the fine. And Kathy, you asked why would I use an oval jump ring rather than a round? Well, with an oval jump ring, let me illustrate it with my fingers here. If I have an oval jump ring that's like this, right? Usually the clasp will sit here up top, and the side will always kind of stay at the side, so that if there's any pressure on my jump ring and it pulls, my clasp won't pull off, right? But if I have a round jump ring, it still looks like an oval, right? But if I have a round jump ring like this, and I have my clasp here, or my, you know, whatever it's hanging on to, and there's a little bit of a tug, it can usually open like that. So an oval jump ring is a little, especially in a finer gauge like this, it's a little stronger, in my opinion, and in my experience. So so that's why I like to use an oval. Plus I like the streamlined look of the oval as well. Okay. Oh, I love this. Kate, you're saying that you are celebrating your freedom, World War II liberation, which is great, by lighting up your windows. So if you make this project, you're going to call it freedom, which I love. I love that. I love that idea. And we all learned something at the bead table because all of our members are from all over the world, which I love. We're making the world a smaller, happier place, one bead at a time, right? I love that part. Let me just put all of these back. I'll turn the camera around and then I'll answer any final questions And then we will call our Free Tip Friday to a close. Do you guys always have a messy table like I do here? I hope I'm not alone. Messy tableness. Okay. Alrighty. Let me see what else you guys have asked real quick. Make sure that I get everything here. The info on matching crimp covers. Well, I hope I answered that when you have a crimp tube, your crimp cover is about 1 millimeter larger than your crimp tube, and that should be your rule of thumb that way. Anything else that I've got? Great. My mom says, I already have a Mother's Day gift ready for her. That's right, Gwen. That's right. I actually do need to get on that, right? Because moms love jewelry. It's true. Well, thanks so much, you guys, for joining me today on for Free Tip Friday, and this little primer on using the free tip, using the monthly mix and floats. It was kind of a fun project to do. I'll have a link to all of this up on our website a little bit later. Karen will link it for me. You can always watch this several different ways. You can watch this right here on our Facebook page anytime, archived there. You can go to our YouTube channel, beadshop.com, and watch all of our videos there. You can also go right to our website, and we have Free Tip Friday archived all in one place, and then you can also see all of our free tip, our Facebook Lives also in one place there as well. Well, next week, you guys, I have a fun project planned. We've got a whole bunch of new products coming in, and I'm going to be playing with big old beads and leather. I've got a cool macrame tip for you. It's going to be the perfect, what we're calling our Summer Storm series. It's the perfect storm of a necklace, and this one's called Thunder. I think you guys are going to love it. So have a fantastic weekend, you guys. I'll see you next Wednesday. I'm flying solo next week. One more week till Emily comes back with me on Free Tip on Facebook Live. All right. Have a great weekend. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys at beadshop.com soon. Bye-bye.